Hello everyone, and welcome to the second session in a series of sessions, online sessions and recordings about the research project process. In this session we'll be looking at the research proposal. In any unit at Pearson that you'll be studying, you'll notice in the coursework you'll have to submit a research project proposal. A research project proposal is an outline of the research you intend to carry out. So it's a kind of a mini specification. It's a mini little outline of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it, and why it's important. In today's session, we'll be looking at giving you some advice of the structure of a general research project proposal. Okay, and advice on the content of the individual bits within a research project proposal. So it's quite important because actually you'll be having to submit a research project proposal as part of your research project unit that you're studying, whichever level you're at Pearson. You'll have to submit this project proposal and it will be marked. Usually the marks attributed to this are lower marks because it's your first try. But actually, if you do your research project proposal really well, it sets you up to do a really good project because things like literature reviews, things like methodology, things like objectives all have to be put into the research project proposal. If you get those right now in the research project proposal, it makes the big project, the bigger piece of work later on, much easier. In terms of the structure of a research project proposal, there's generally seven major sections that you need to think about. The first one is the research title. What's going to be the title of usually it's how what you're calling it. The second bit is the background. Now, the background is divided into two. The first bit is an outline of the practical problem, opportunity, or issue that you're trying to address as part of your research, and you have to justify why that problem, opportunity, or issue is really important. And again, you need to reference evidence to support that. The second piece to the background is the academic literature which is connected or associated with your topic. Okay, so you've got two bits, the practical, the professional angle, the problem, the opportunity that you're looking at, but then what's the academic saying about it, what's the theory behind it, what's the current research behind it. And that's the background section. We'll do more on these individual sections as we go through. We then have the research aim and objective section, okay, and we'll go through them as well. We need to set a range of research objectives so we know what we're trying to achieve. We then have a methodology section or a research design section. Sometimes you just call it a method section. The terminology, it doesn't matter unless it's one of those terms you use. In this section, this is where we outline a kind of set of instructions of what research methods we're going to use. Are we going to use interviews? Are we going to use questionnaires? Fine. How many questionnaires? How many interviews? Who are we questioning? When's it going to happen? Where's it going to happen? What's the type of questioning? Etc. etc. So the method has to be quite detailed. It has to be almost like a set of instructions that someone can actually follow without you being present. The fifth element is ethical issues, if you have any. This isn't a kind of compulsory thing, but if you're researching in schools, for example, have you got the consent of parents or teachers? So, there just needs to be some care taken if you are researching children or sensitive issues. And then the sixth section, which is a bit of a major section, project management. This is where you have to plan out when you're going to do your research, when you're going to do your literature review, when you're going to do your interviews, when you're going to do your questionnaires. So we're talking about Gantt charts here, really. And then you'll be looking at what kind of resources you might need to help with your research project. And then the final section, obviously, is a Harvard referencing list at the back, just to put all your references together from the whole of the proposal. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through in each of these sections individually, and I'm going to give you some advice on how to go about these sections so you can go off and start putting together your research proposal on your topic that you want to go for. So the first section, the research project title. So this is like a title to a book. You've got to put a title that's attractive, it's concise, it does what it says on the tin, it's quite detailed, it's self-explanatory, and it's quite catching attention. So some people just spend minutes on this, but actually spend a bit of time on this, thinking, how am I going to term this project? What's the actual title of the project? So, you know, keep them simple, no more than a sentence. Don't make them overly bearing, overly too long. So here we've got some titles. The first one is actually from my PhD, so modeling and measuring dynamic capabilities. Well, that's what I was doing. I was modeling and I was measuring dynamic capabilities. Fine. If anyone wants to find my work and they type in dynamic capabilities as what they're interested in, they clearly know what that's about. Other titles from other disciplines: household robotics, devices for vacuuming and lawn mowing. So they're studying, the benefits and what they're doing. Gardens and gardening in a fast-changing urban environment, Manchester, 1790 to 1850. Again, it says what it does on the tin. It's fairly self-explanatory, but it may take you some time just to make it concise and says what it does. Now, if you struggle to get your research project down into one kind of sentence or a title, it may mean that your research project hasn't got enough focus and it's too wide a scope. So just be careful of that. That is an obvious kind of telltale sign that your project is too big and has a too wide a scope. If you don't think you can get it down into a title such as these in a very short sentence. So what I want you to do now, just pause the recording for 5 to 10 minutes and start drafting out your research project title. Hopefully by now that you've all had some time to think about your research projects and what you would like to do. But now, what would you call it? If it was an actual book, what would you call it? Be creative, but make sure it says what it does on the tin. It's got to be self-explanatory. That's really important. So draft it out, spend a bit of time, pause the recording, and when you're ready, then we'll move on to the next bit. Okay? Right, moving on into the second section. So this is the background section. Now remember that I said that the background is divided into two. The first element is the practical problem, opportunity or issue that you're going to tackle. That's the business related problem. And then the second bit is the academic research or theory that's behind the scenes, that's connected or associated with your research problem. So two different angles, okay? The first one is basically what's happening now in business or with consumers, the live issue, the live opportunity, the live problem. What have the academics said in the past about this topic? Is it if it was branding at Skoda and you're looking at an opportunity to develop the brand or rebrand Skoda, whatever it may be, what do the academics talk about branding? What's the theories behind branding? What's the current research about branding? Is there any current research about branding of car companies? So it's a dual approach here. So make sure you have these two kind of sections in the background. First of all, a good definition of the problem, opportunity, and issue, and then you need to look at the associated literature or current research behind the scenes. When we talk about the practical problem, opportunity, or issue, you need to be careful, okay? Some problems are quite complex. Some issues and opportunities are quite complex. So you may have to spend a little bit of time trying to define that quite concisely and to be very clear on what your problem is. Now, that will take you quite a bit of time to look at. It needs to be clear. And you've probably maybe heard me talk about something called the MUM test. Well, the MUM test is, if you give your work that you've written to your mum and your mum understands it, and your mum hasn't got a degree, or your mum's just helps you at home and raised you. This is what my mum did. She didn't go to university, but if I wrote it in a way that my mum understood it, I knew it was right. So it didn't have to be mum, it could be a friend, it could be dad, whatever, as long as they can understand what it means. And if they don't understand what it means, you've got to go back to it and redraft it. So trying to be clear what your problem, opportunity, or issue is really important, and that's a writing skill. So you need to be really important there. So once you've got a clear definition of what the problem is and where it's happening, the next bit is you've got to justify why that research into this problem, opportunity, issue is really important. This justification is really important in any research project. One of the skills in a research project is about creating and demonstrating arguments. Okay, one of the most important skills that you will learn, hopefully, from putting together a research project, your own project. This isn't my project, this isn't your tutor's project, this is your project that you're going to start, conceive, put together, implement, and then complete and finalize. So from start to finish, this is completely yours. So, choose something that you enjoy. But a good research project, there's no right or wrong on whatever your research project is at all. No one will ever say that. But what they will say is that, is it justified? Why are you doing something? Why are you researching small businesses? Tell the tutor why they're researching small businesses is important. Is it because small businesses account for over 50% of the economy? So, you've got to be able to provide evidence that justifies why this research is important. Is it because if we don't do the research, we don't look at this opportunity, potentially the company could be forced into making people redundant? How many people are redundant? Of course, that has an impact on the state because they have to pay unemployment benefits, etc., etc., etc. So, but if you can, when you're justifying, try to reference data or statistics from professional sources, so Mintel, The Economist, the newspapers, the government agencies, government departments like the Department of Trade and Industry, try to reference that kind of material rather than the academic material, because you'll be coming to that in the second part of the lecture, of the section, of the background section. So justification is really, really important. Referencing your evidence to support your arguments is really important, and try to keep those references to professional-based references. So government agencies, publications like The Economist, Mintel, those kind of professional things, trade journals, but rather than academic journals, because that's the next section. So again, we just need to pause for a few minutes so you can think about this and do some brainstorming. What I want you to, and I hope that you've all probably got an idea of what your research project is about and what it's going to be about. But maybe the next step you need to look at is actually, I need to work out how am I going to justify it? How am I going to argue that this research problem, opportunity, or issue that I'm going to look at is actually going to be justified and actually worthy of doing. So I would spend some time brainstorming the kind of points that you would make, the argument that you would make to justify your research project. I don't expect you to be referencing at the minute, but think about the kind of sources you would look for data to help you justify. 5 to 10 minutes, pause the recording. When you've done and you've got some notes down, great, you've started the work, fantastic, and then we'll move on. Right, moving on. Now remember that I said that the background is divided into two bits. First of all, the problem, the opportunity, the issue that we need to define and justify. And the second one is the academic research or literature that's associated or related to your topic. Now, for some of you, that would be really easy to identify. So if you're doing a topic on branding, obviously you need to look at the branding theory. Some of you might be much harder, and you have to think about what's the theories behind the scenes that actually underpin the topic. So you might be doing research online. You might be doing some kind of looking at TripAdvisor and stuff like that. Well, there might not be lots of academic research about TripAdvisor. However, there will be lots of academic research about buyer behavior. So you have to kind of think a bit out of the box what theories will be linked and what type of research will be linked to your topics, because if you're choosing a very new topic, that's fantastic, don't get me wrong. Very new topics are great because it's something that no one else has been researching, and that's one of the important things about research is you choose something that no one else has researched. If you choose something that someone else has researched, there's no point doing the research. You just wouldn't get through. So choosing something new is great, but bear in mind that the literature, you might have a harder time of working out what the literature may be. So you have to think out of the box and think, right, what theories could be connected? And again, this is a brainstorming exercise where you think about the theories you need to look at for your literature review. With a literature review, obviously you're looking at all the theories that's connected with your topic. You have to say why these theories are connected if there isn't a clear link. But one of the most important skills in a literature review is actually being critical. A literature review is talked about in the textbooks about being a critical review of the literature. Okay, now what it means by being critical, it means by looking at the disadvantages of the theory that already exists or disadvantages with the existing